Back in the day when Jesus roamed the earth, I wrote, edited, and published a video on YouTube.com, which I titled Top 5 Girls in Gaming. It was meant to be a sarcastic critique of gaming tropes through a semi-serious feminist lens. However, I ultimately privated it because it was infuriatingly self-assured and ultimately regressive and stupid in every conceivable way. In the video, I semi-ironically upheld that Anita Sarkeesian was always right, and that her series Tropes vs. Women in Video Games was a good and accurate series that adequately identified and analyzed certain tropes, serving as quality feminist gaming critique. If you want to see my video, no, you don't. Some of you may remember the whole Gamergate fiasco. Some of you may argue that it never ended, and maybe you're right. Internet denizens have and always will lock into hive mentality and turn to radical, sensationalized us versus them discord, dividing themselves into opposing cliques when in reality so-called sides are meaningless distinctions that do nobody any good. The contentious horseshoe theory posits that far-right and far-left people on supposedly opposite ends of the political spectrum resemble each other. When removed from the false concept that political attitudes can be reduced to binary extremes with a spectrum spanning between them, the theory can apply to all sorts of things, including the striking similarities between radical anti-feminists and radical feminists. When I was a big baby boy, 13 or 14, during the inception of the Gamergate rumpus room, I was primarily using Reddit and 4chan, places that were moderately to largely or extremely anti-feminist and anti-social justice. My perception at the time was that our precious video games were under attack by the SJWs, that Anita Sarkeesian was awful, and that the only logical side to take in this battle was that of the burgeoning red pill /MRA /GOMAD /CHAD /MGTOW movements, which would eventually blossom into the cancerous black orchid that is the present-day manosphere. I was subjected to opposing viewpoints, but this was in the form of isolated, cherry-picked Twitter screenshots, capturing the rantings and ramblings of intolerant Tumblr users, or frankly misguided, muckraking video game journalists. Reddit's r/gaming was awful around this time, as it always was and always will be. 4chan's threads buckled under the immense weight of dank pepes. I failed to realize as a young baby boy that if I had taken a step back and looked at all the information instead of only that within my immediate sphere of influence, I would realize with my real eyes that both sides were using the same dishonest smear tactics as the other. Further, if I had logged off the pooter for a second, I would have realized that the world was not, in fact, an infernal poop quake that threatened the very nature of existence. However, that isn't to say that I completely bought into the hatred or even took part in the battle. This is because I never gave two shits. So if I don't give two shits, why am I making this video?
It's in my code!
As of the time of writing, not the time of editing, revising, narration, or publication, I am lying prone on a couch, typing up a storm at 10 p.m. when my ass should be asleep. Yes, I am aware that this video, if it reaches beyond my frankly wonderful fan base, may become yet another rumpus room. Yes, I am probably going to give this a hilarious clickbait title and thumbnail. No, I am not an authority on anything besides myself and my own opinions, and no, I do not identify as a feminist or a men's rights activist, or even a liberal or conservative for that matter. This video so far is a silly, goofy piece of nothing meant for nobody but myself and my followers. But that doesn't mean that people won't get angry. Negativity spreads faster on the internet than anything else. Even cats. Rage-based marketing is very hot and in right now. How many videos have you seen where smug, moralistic, sanctimonious, pearl-clutching weirdos sit atop their thrones of self-righteous superiority while dunking on people they deem unsavory, immoral, reprehensible, evil, terrible people? Chances are, if you clicked on this and aren't a follower of mine who already knows I do clickbait because I think it's funny, you are vulnerable to rage-based marketing, which I have employed in this very video. Ha! You fell into my trap! So many people do this, and YouTube and advertisers love it because it generates them profits. Whipping people into a frenzy and getting them to click on stuff that makes them angry generates ad money. Look at Anita Sarkeesian. the queen of this herself. Her stern, humorless, confrontational attitude was, whether on purpose or not, gasoline to the fire that is the Gamergate controversy. She made some videos, which I did watch back then, but haven't revisited in like a decade. She made some money, got famous, and made a whole lot of people very, very angry. Was she right or was she wrong? Again, I don't give two shits. When people treat their gender as a side and pit themselves against each other, when mutual animosity and groupthink take hold, when otherwise rational individuals succumb to that animalistic tribe-like clique behavior, I can't help but want to dissociate myself from all labels and groups. Earlier, when I said I'm neither a liberal nor a conservative, people will take that and use it to construe me as one or the other. DimeTree is if Hitler and Darth Vader stepped into the machine from The Fly. Uh-oh, here goes DimeTree, the anarcho-primitivist. It's the if you're not with us, you're against us mentality taking hold there. When I say that, it doesn't mean I don't hold political views, and it doesn't mean I'm a centrist either. It means that I don't associate with labels, because when you associate yourself with a label, people will bring their preconceptions about that label and project them onto you, thus assuming things about you that might not be true. Let's say I call myself a feminist. Already, people might begin to think I hold all kinds of opinions that they've seen self-described feminists have that I don't necessarily have. Let's say I call myself a woke 4chan MGTOW gamer boy with a long cock. People might assume I'm clinically insane and that I masturbate to Rule 34 of Donkey Kong. Not to imply anyone who does that is anything but an individual of impeccable taste. All fringe sexual tastes aside, while Wario is my waifu, I am a boy on the internet who is known for being somewhat of a shit stirrer. I used to make these silly videos about Elder Scrolls games, and boy, did gamers shit themselves. Reading those comments was exhausting, and I still get them. Looks like someone needs to use more Scrolls of Recall. Dying to Fargoth, what the fuck? Put yourself, if you will, into the flannel of Anita Sarkeesian. She was sent death threats probably kinda on the daily for creating content on the internet, saying, fuck you, you are a scrongus, to someone you disagree with is whatever. You can disregard that and go back to whatever you were doing. Just continue hitting the whip and nay-naying, or whatever the kids are up to these days. But when someone says, I'm going to come to your house while you're sleeping and slit your throat, that's kind of a step up. Empathy, first and foremost, followed by education and logic. This is the message I want to spread. I may have mentioned this briefly in other videos, but the internet wasn't always this heated. Before the advent of widespread social media and before the mass proliferation of advertisement as content, before we stopped being able to tell what's actual content and what's a commercial, we had smaller communities. We had a better ratio of civil to uncivil discussion, basically, except for 4chan, which people who go to 4chan go there because it's uncivil, it's chaotic, and it's mean-spirited. But if we want to escape this hell that's been created, where the internet is a perpetual piss-NATO penis war between people who probably wouldn't share the same animosity in real life, where hatred and sensationalism are not only propped up, but financially incentivized, we probably need to take a few steps back and look elsewhere for answers. A possible solution to this problem may already exist. Discord, while I don't like the way it's run, is like a callback to how the internet used to be, to some degree. Smaller communities of individuals from around the world brought together by shared interests. But notice how the bigger the Discord gets, the more Discord there is. If you've ever spent any amount of time on a bigger Discord server and have any semblance of pattern recognition, you'll realize that when too many people are in a community, the collective IQ of that community plummets through the crust of the earth and tunnels into the burning core of our darkest nightmares. "You're a clown! No, you're a clown!" You know how this kind of discussion plays out. However, a properly cultivated community that doesn't get too out of hand, maybe one united by a special interest, one with some sort of more fringe, underground zeitgeist backing, might turn out to be a bit more tolerable. Say a community based around giving cum tribute to pictures of Todd Howard. I'm thinking about my own Discord server. It's inactive now, which its heyday has run its course, although it could always be max revived under the right circumstances. Come join it. My link should either be in my channel description or in the description of this video if I remember to put it there. Anyways, my Discord server was always open to everyone, and I advertised it in and below my videos during the height of my popularity. Most who showed up there were pretty reasonable, although a majority of them left pretty quickly because the server was called Clover's Fuck Jungle, and all the channel names ended with "and porn." Eventually, the normies were weeded out, and the server became a haven for wonderful, intelligent, and somewhat like-minded people. We all share different beliefs and opinions, yet we voice them rationally and respectfully. As with most, if not all things, smaller instances of something often resemble the greater instances they comprise. That was kind of confusing. The concept of self-similarity is something of a cosmic, mathematical model with ties to psychedelia that can often be seen in computerized fractals, also easily observed and demonstrated in so-called Romanesco broccoli, a type of cauliflower whose buds themselves are comprised of smaller, similar-looking cauliflower buds, thus creating a natural approximation of a fractal. For a relevant example to tie this seemingly tangential and unrelated detour back to the point I was making, individual Discord servers serve as a sort of microcosm of the internet as a whole. Okay, I'm confusing myself now. History, learn from it. Science, pay attention to it. Anger, don't let it consume you. And last but not least, like, subscribe, and share. You beautiful, wonderful, wild animals, you.